Welcome back to Nothing But Nets. I am joined by my esteemed panel. We're not going to get into yesterday's disgrace, an all-time loss for the Nets. I lost by 59 points to the Clippers. It's just the most disgusting thing. I can't believe this is what you guys want to see. Like, if you were wondering when the wheels fall off, well, they just fell off. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond because there's half a season left. There's 41 games left, and that's what brings us together today. I'm joined with Dylan from Nets Press. I'm joined by John from Everything BK Nets to go over some midterm grades for the Brooklyn Nets organization and their roster. I'll start with John and Dylan. John, introduce yourself and first give me your thoughts on last night's game before we get into the midterm report.
Well, I think our friend LM put it pretty interestingly. It was a beautiful masterpiece last night. I mean, you couldn't hope for anything more disgusting in your life. And I know some people are like thinking the Nets are going to hit rock bottom for the rest of the decade. Think about this. If you were here for 2016, 2017, that was an atrocious car wreck. The Nets have so many assets to work with now. I think you all forget about this in a few years once we have our prospects and maybe a star down the road. So, yeah, look at this right now as a little death beater, but it's par for the course this year. And Gary and Dylan, always fun to talk good basketball with you. It's anybody always talk fun basketball with me. Follow me on my Twitter at OS91413John. Done working multiple podcasts, BK1 Hoops, Breezy's podcast, Dylan's Beacon Network Pod. By the way, 500 plus views on YouTube, guys. Check it out if you already have. We are killing it. And Gary's Nothing But Nets, because I'm Everything Beacon Nets John. Yeah, we're going to grade a lot of stuff today. We're at the halfway point. And guys, if you got through the first half of the season, second half should be a breeze because we are on our road to draft nights. So get ready for some fun conversations. May 12th, man. So let's get into this, man. And yeah, as far as yesterday goes, listen, it's par for the course, man. At the end of the day, you look at that team that we have right now, that is not going to win anything. So going through some adversity this year was par for the course. I know Joy doesn't like it, but you know what? You already showed us. You can win 10 games when nobody's expecting it. So get through these next few months, get our top pick, let's make some damn history, and let's start building this team the way that we should.
Dill, let me bring it to you. Introduce yourself to a little commercial to everyone, what you got going on, and just give me your thoughts on yesterday's absolute disgrace.
Yeah, feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube at the BK Network Podcast. We have John, Gary on all the time, my co-host Matt. So yeah, we're on the road to 200 over there, and like John said, appreciate you guys for giving us that 500 view video. That was our first mock draft that we did live. We broke down the Cam Johnson news, Giannis rumors, so that was a fun episode.
Yeah.
Also, if you want, feel free to follow me on Instagram at NetsPress or on Twitter at NetsPressIG. That's where you'll get your quickest, most reliable Nets sources and news. But yeah, like you said, last night was so bad that it was good. I can't complain. I've been saying that Nets need a couple of those demoralizing losses to just get back on the path of where you need to be in terms of your draft pick. So hopefully last night was the sign that, you can trade Cam Johnson now for whatever it may be, and you'll be all right. As long as you get in bottom five, I think you're good. I think the Pelicans are going to top us, and I also think one of either the Raptors or the Hornets are going to jump ahead of us at some point, too. I think it's a kind of 50-50 fight between the Blazers and us to see who lands that fourth pick. But outside of that, I think you should be able to get a top five pick in terms of odds. So hopefully that's where we are around the end of the season, around that 3 through 5 range. And hopefully we'll land that top 3 pick in May.
All right, so I just want to recap where we are. The Nets are 14-27. Currently, they're in the 7th pick. That they have the 7th best odds of landing the first pick. So obviously they're on pace for 28 wins, which is more than probably anyone expected. I don't expect them to hit 28 wins or even really get too close to that. They're 2-8 in their last 10. Obviously things are falling apart. They've moved Schroeder and they've moved Cam Johnson thus far. That's where the Nets are right now. So I'm going to start. I want to hear from John second. So I'm going to start with Dylan. Midterm report grade for general manager Sean Marks. How would you grade him just through what he's done this season? Every other year, every other trade is separate, but just so far this year, give Sean Marks a midterm grade.
I'd say C+. The DFS deal, it was needed, but you also have to look back to last year where he should have gotten more for him. Schroeder, it was urgent again to move him, but if you did wait a little bit, you probably would have gotten more. Again, I think it was a smart decision to move off of him no matter what the haul was, just because you had to start losing games. So I don't mind. but overall, I would say a C plus. I think going into this season, you should not have had Cam Johnson or DFS on the team. It's just the lack of urgency. The moves that he has made, they're beneficial. You got an expiring contract for a player who's out for the season in Melton, plus 3 seconds. You got D'Angelo Russell, who's on an expiring deal, plus a young player in Maxwell Lewis and multiple seconds. It really depends on what he does for Johnson now. I'm still expecting potentially 2 firsts and a salary filler, or a first and a young player, but he's got to kind of get on this quickly. A win against Portland was not good for us whatsoever. So I would think, you have to hope that Johnson's moved here very shortly. But outside of that, yeah, I would say it's a C plus, because there really hasn't been much great that he's done. It's just been necessary, which is moving off of Schroeder and DFS early. We haven't gotten to really see much of Cam Thomas this year because of injury. Noah Clowney's looked good, so as a draft pick, you have to give some props to Marks for that. But the Claxton contract as well is looking horrible, so I'm hoping that we move off of him potentially this year as well. So until him and Johnson are moved, I don't know if I can really bump him up any further than like a C plus.
All right, C or C plus from Dylan. We'll move to John. Now, John, you're going to have you always have interesting takes on Sean Marks. Go ahead.
Do?
Same question to you. Give him a grade, just based on this year. So I don't want to hear about James Harden or Ben Simmons trade, just on what he's done this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Dylan. I want to give him a C plus too, but I even want to give him an incomplete, but there's still a lot of dominoes that have yet to fall. Because at the end of the day, we want to grade this guy towards the end. We see everything that he's done to set us up for this draft. So I'm around a C plus, maybe an incomplete, just because we haven't seen all the moves yet. But you look at it as a whole so far, this is his first year tanking. I'll be honest with you. I'm not so surprised that it's gone this off the road so far, because you think about it. He hired a coach who's basically said to him, I don't want to take on and win games. And what he says to him is, good luck. Go for it. Like, I don't understand that. Like, you're the GM and you're telling this guy, listen, I understand you have to build a relationship with this guy. You want some mutual respect, mutual understanding about our goals. But the goals this season have kind of been all over the place. Jordy obviously wants to win games, be respected, have a decent record. And he showed you that. He won 10 games this season. He defied winning odds. He defied all the odds in the book. I don't think anybody would predict that the Nets would have 14 wins in January. So good for Jordy on that. But you look at Sean Marks, that's a referendum on him. He didn't think that this current team would be that good. But to Dylan's point, you let the vets run the team this year. You let Dennis Schroeder turn an all-star for that 10-game stretch. Now he's in the Warriors being a bad player like he usually is. You had to get rid of Doe, who was sulking it around and all that. You got rid of that. Johnson, man, I don't understand why he's on the team like Dylan said too. Like, hopefully we get a deal done as soon as possible, because that Portland game, that was atrocious. That should have been an easy L for us. Instead, we did what Sean Marks usually does sometimes, go off the beaten track when he says he wants to tank the right way. Like, how can you say we're going to tank and wins don't matter, but you had that whole team against Portland, everybody was in the plus. 54% from field goal, 40 from three. You look at that whole box score, that's not tanking. So for Sean Marks to say we want to tank, but we want to remain competitive, it's so contradictory. A lot of those moves this year have been contradictory. The D'Lo move, I don't know why the hell that happened when you want to get rid of Dennis. So maybe Sean Marks knows something we don't. But at the end of the day, some of his motives this year have been questionable. And guys like LM, Podthorn, Joey BK, Dylan, and myself, we're going to call it out because we keep it 100 with all you guys. We're not going to be like, oh, Sean Marks, you got your 31 picks back. Wow, we love you. No, at the end of the day, you have to get us a top 3 pick. You have to make sure you know what to do with the cap space this summer. And you have to use the draft picks effectively, not just throw 10 of them at a superstar because you think you want to sell tickets and maybe win.
Trades that have been made. Trades that have been made.
All right. As far as the Dennis and Doe thing, just like Dylan said, it was necessary because we didn't want to win too many games. We want to get as low record as possible to position ourselves to crack top 4. That's the main goal. So I'll give Sean Marks his props on that. They were necessary. But this Cam Johnson move is really going to be what can turn Sean Marks' grade from a C plus to maybe a B, because that hole you get for him will kind of set the tone for where we're going to be on draft night. So if he gets that done effectively, maybe he's done decent this year. But so far, a lot of his moves have been very questionable at best. We got to see how the hell this turns out, because this tank, I'll be honest with you, has been one of the weirdest tanks I've seen so far.
That's my next point was, it wasn't really a tank. Jordy never took the job as a tank. So I'm going to give Sean Marks a B minus. He hired Jordy Fernandez, which he gets our next grade, which I like that. The 2 trades he has made, I thought were B plus trades. So the reason why I got to mark him down is because Cam Johnson is still here. Cam Johnson was still here, and Dorian Finney-Smith started the season on the team. So I got to mark him down. Other than that, I think I'm a big Sean Marks detractor. I think he's terrible. I don't want him here anymore. But all in all, through what he's done just in this year alone, I give him a B minus. I don't think he's done that bad of a job. I think the good outweighs the bad. But Cam Johnson still being here is an issue. It's a problem. The 2 trades were okay. And the Jordy Fernandez hiring was pretty good, but Cam Johnson still being here is a major markdown, and DFS starting the season on the team was a major markdown. So that's where we're at now. I'm giving him a B minus. John and Dylan both giving him a C plus. John, I'll go to you next. Coach Jordy Fernandez. Give him a grade so far through this season.
A plus. Listen, at the end of the day, what he's done with this system and program so far in a short amount of time, it's been nothing short of spectacular. I mean, this guy is an absolute gamer and coach out there. I even said we were winning that little stretch. He's like a 6th man off the bench telling these guys exactly what to do, and they are executing what he wants. The fact he turned Dennis Schroeder into a little all-star for that little run is insane to me, because it just shows that Jordy, once he connects with you, he understands what your skills are, what you need to do better at, and these guys appreciate, what the direction he gives them. I mean, look at Keon Johnson. This guy's fighting for his life right now, and you see him through these last few games. He's now averaging around 20 points during some games because Jordy believes in him. He trusts him. When Cam Thomas went down, he wanted Johnson to get that spot because he believed he earned it. And Johnson's been nothing but a scrapper out there, just trying to be as competitive as possible. So Jordy just shows you that he can connect with different people. He understands the long-term outlook a bit on just development. I mean, look at Noah Clowney this year, 3-point shot developed. You look at just the way Cam Johnson's developed as his best season of his career, because Jordy's put him in such a great position, just being efficient out there. Cam Thomas, I mean, I was worried how would he fit in Jordy's system, but Jordy's been on his side from day one, hell, defending him when he wasn't getting calls his way. Like, him and Jordy have developed a great relationship, and he put Thomas in arguably the best position of his career during that little stretch he had. So I would definitely give Jordy an A, just because he has shown you he can develop a program, a system. He cares about culture, but he definitely cares about winning. So once you get the pieces on this team for the future, I think Jordy's going to thrive in that, because his never say die attitude is something this team really does need when they do want to compete and be serious as a team. So Jordy's been very spectacular this year, and I'll give him an A+.
Let me bring the question over to Dylan. It's your turn to grade Jordy Fernandez so far through this season.
Yeah, I'm going to give him an A. He has shown that he can establish a culture, that he has the right system in place for when you are ready to win, and the development has been really well. Noah Clowney has looked very good this season. Cam Thomas in the 19 games that he's played has looked incredible. He looked better defensively and as a playmaker this season as well. The only player that really has just not been able to thrive in this system is Nick Claxton. You bring in Tyrese Martin, you bring in Tucson, Avuvu, whatever this guy's name is, and they both look like very solid, depth pieces. So it shows that no matter the young player that you bring in, except for Nick Claxton, that you'll probably be able to develop them to their fullest. So I'm excited to see what Jordy can do with, a potential top 3 pick. And I hope that he has the patience enough to make that last through 2026. Because I think as long as you land a top 3 pick this year and a top 5 pick in 2026, you're going to be in the best position to build some long-term success. So I'll give him an A, though, so far.
All right. I'm going to give him an A-. I agree with most of what you said. He's gotten the most out of everyone. He's put nice starting lineups together. He's had some weird rotational things, like playing Claxton and Simmons together. He's had some weird rotational things, which is why I'm marking him down just a little bit. I'm giving him an A-. John gave him an A+. Dylan gave him an A. I'm giving him an A-. Obviously, he's done a great job. He's got everyone to buy into his system. Starting Keon Johnson over and over and over again is problematic to me. I don't understand why Keon Johnson's in the NBA, really, but that's besides the point. I'm not trying to hate on the guy. I'm just saying I don't really
Sure, Gary, sure.
understand why.
Damn.
But
Get that
I
guy
mean,
out of here.
even that being said, he's gotten some decent production at times out of Keon Johnson. I wish he played sharp more. There were just little things I wish that he were doing, which is why I'm going to mark him down just to an A-. I want to move on to this one, and I'll let Dylan go first on this one. The Brooklyn Nets 24-25 season. We're halfway through it. How would you grade this season so far for the Nets?
C-. I would say D, but I'm going to be a little bit positive here. At the end of the day, we're far ahead of schedule from where we should be. Though 5 games back from a top 3 spot seems doable, at the end of the day, those teams underneath you need to lose. And we haven't put ourselves in the best position to be able to catch up to them. They're taking this thing seriously while we're half-assing it. I think that you have to really just look back. It takes a 15-game losing streak to probably be back in that spot of the top 3. So, it's not that we've played bad to a point where we're not able to get into the top 5, but you also don't want to put yourself in a position to where you now need to full-blown tank to be able to get to that point. You could be competitive and still lose these games in the fourth quarter by making different rotation pieces. But Jordy went out there and tried to prove a point. And I think that the ego side of it, when you know that you really don't have a roster to do anything right now, it's a little bit of a slap to the face to fans, especially after getting your draft picks back. But the roster itself, the way that they've played, I'm going to give them a C- just because they overachieved. If this was any other year where we didn't have our picks, I'd be thrilled. But we have our pick. It's a very good draft class. You have 3 guys in that top 3 that you could benefit from tremendously, whether it be Flag, Ace, or Harper. So I'm really hoping this last half of the season we buckle down, and if you win more than 8 games, I don't see you being able to get a top 4 pick. So we'll see.
I'm going to move the question to John. As the season as a whole so far at the midway point, give the Brooklyn Nets season a grade.
Yeah, I'm with Dylan on that C- as well. I just feel like there's just been such an imbalance on this team as far as what our goals are. You think about it, Sean Marks, he flip-flops back and forth between we want to get a top pick, we want to compete, and then recently he just admitted to wanting to tank, that systematically what matters is not winning games, but what our goals are and all that. But at the end of the day, you gave Coach Jordy so much autonomy. When he said, I'm not going to tank, I want to win games, you say go for it in one of the most historic drafts in recent memory. And this is the problem with Sean Marks is he's put himself in such a bind where he has to be everybody's best friend, to the point people like Jordy, who's a first-time coach, is going to be like, I know what Sean's MO is. He's not gonna be resistant. He's going to be very, embracing and let me do what I want to do, and I'm going to set that standard. But that's why if you're a GM, you have to have backbone and you have to have ethics. And unfortunately, the players, like Dylan said, the vets, they want to win this year. They want their money. They want this. They're not thinking about the long-term outlook. And that's why some of them probably should have been traded a lot earlier. That's the Sean Marks problem, is he lets people have autonomy on his team when really he should be one setting the standard for this team. And unfortunately, there are egos, different goals. And that's why I think many people, a lot of us expected us to be bottom 3. To be bottom 6 or 7, yeah, it's okay because we're out of the play-in. But now we're playing a way more dangerous game of Russian roulette. There's no guarantee we're getting a top 4 being bottom 6, bottom 5. But if you were bottom 3, you definitely would be in the top 5 at least. So there's a lot of catch up to do. I feel like some teams are now starting to win, which is good for us. But at the end of the day, you hired a coach you don't want to tank. You let the vets run roughshod for that first month and a half. And now Sean Marks is trying to justify it by now saying, I wanted to tank always. That was the goal. Well, your actions and your words, Sean Marks, are very different than they should be. So if this somehow works out in his favor, of course, me and Dylan are going to be like, great job, Sean. But at the end of the day, this could have been a lot more smoother. And right now, this is probably one of the weirdest tanks I've ever seen. But things seem to be evening out. We're at a C-. Hopefully by the end of this season, around May 12th, the draft falls in our favor and we get a good selection. Then we could bump up that grade a bit.
I'm going to say, as of right now, where we are, 24-25 season, I'm going to give it a B. It's better from a win-loss perspective than I thought. He's gotten the most – if you would have told me you're going to get 14 games and Cam Thomas is going to miss most of those, Cam Johnson's going to miss a bunch, Nick Claxton's going to be the worst player in basketball, I would say there's no way. So
Wow.
he's not been good at anything.
At least you're generous, Gary, in your assessment.
So I'm going to give him a B. I can't. When you found your coach, right? Finding a coach is half the battle, and now you just need to get the players. We found the coach. We have. So I can't give him as low as a C when we have a major piece of what we need to be competitive for a long time, and that's the head coach. So because they got Jordy, and because Jordy has guys overachieving, I'm going to give it a B. We have cap space. We can go sign a superstar. If we don't land a top 3 pick, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be ideal, but we know we have a coach who can max guys out, and we have cap space to go get good players. So we're okay. Jordy Fernandez, to me, has been, with Cam Thomas being hurt most of the season, Jordy has been the lone bright spot on this team. He's been my favorite player, and it's the coach. So I'm going to give it a B.
My biggest worry with that, though, is similar to how Cam Thomas had the 3 40-point games, right? You when you're not on the scouting report, you tend to overachieve, right? A lot of people don't know the way that Jordy coaches, the way that he has people bought in, the plays that he may run, the system that he may run. That could be hard to go up against the first 1-2 times that you play him, because it's like scouting a player for the first 1-2 times that you play him. You're not going to take them seriously, but once they start to overachieve, which we have, then you start to see where the cracks may be. So that's my worry with next year, is say they fuck this year up. They don't land a top 3 pick. They try to go after a star, and then what happens? You fail miserably, and you end up, as a bottom 8 to 10 team, and you don't get the pick that you need. So that's my worry, is it's great to see the overachieving, but at the same time, you have to understand that most of the time in basketball, at least, especially when you're a new coach or you are a new player that's just getting into the line, like Tucson and Tyrese Martin, for example, the 2 guys are not on anybody's scouting reports. Each of them have had 20+ point games. So, it's difficult because you want to believe in the coach, but at the same time, it's the first year. You never know what's going to happen next year. So I wouldn't put all my eggs in saying that I'm fully sold on Jordy, because I want to see what he can do with properly developing his own stars and building a roster that way, rather than going after an Ingram or a Jimmy Butler and then failing miserably while being stuck with those players for a couple of years.
All right, I want to start the grading of the actual roster now. We're going to start with everyone's favorite. And I like Nick Claxton. So when I say he's the worst player in the NBA, I say that because he's the worst player in the NBA.
Jesus. God damn.
When you consider his contract and stuff, he's the least valuable player in the NBA. I'll start with you, Dylan. Nick Claxton, give him a grade A through F.
I love Clax, man. He has just been absolute dog shit this year, though. I'm giving him a flat out D. The attitude, the production on the court, offensively and defensively, it's like looking at a stick. He just doesn't do anything. It's a huge drop off, and the excuse of him needing a point guard next to him, it's just getting tiring. You can't have everything that you want, but you also need to progress your game as well. We've seen a couple of jumpers here and there, but it's nothing consistent. The free throw percentage is down this year. The field goal percentage, I think, is one of his worst so far while being in the league. It's just he hasn't grown in muscle size. He's still getting bodied down low by bigs. It's just not a good look. His rebounding has fallen off as well. I think that he's the most expendable player on this team currently. And in all honesty, I would get rid of him for whatever you can get back. It's not even like I'd have a set in stone price tag for him.
No, I would take a salary dump for him.
I was gonna say a first and a salary dump. I would take it.
I would just take this out. I don't think you're getting a first for Nick Claxton at this point, not with that contract. The contract
it's tough because I feel like a team like Atlanta. I mentioned
that's the one team everyone keeps looking at is Atlanta. Like you want Claxton, I'll take Capella.
Yeah, because if you're gonna give me Capella, Capella's not gonna be here long term. So you take Capella in a first, I'm cool with that. But I would think at least the teams that I've heard that are definitely interested, Pelicans and Atlanta, but the other 2 teams that could be dark horses are Indiana and Chicago, because Indiana, Miles Turner's on an expiring deal. They've been 50-50 on him for years. Same thing for
and Chicago's retarded, and that's why they're interested in him.
Nah, they just don't know what a rebuild is, but
Chicago.
let's
a
not.
wizard with words there. Yeah, it's yeah, no, it's Chicago's got Vucevic. He's an expiring deal. He's likely to get traded. So there's definitely teams out there. The Pelicans is the toughest one, but it's also the best fit because if you want to help yourself as a tanking team, moving him to New Orleans will help you because they will top us at that point. Playing with DeJounte, playing with McCollum, Murphy, Herb, and Zion, Claxton will thrive over there. But
he actually makes a bit of sense there. Like he
really does. And it's like if they want to show that they can still succeed, then they would go for him. But the problem is they can't get him without moving Ingram, McCollum, or Zion. And Brooklyn in no world should be looking at any of those three, which is why I posted a 3-team deal, which had Tim Hardaway Jr., Jaden Ivey, and a 2026 first-round pick from the Pelicans. I believe it's a swap with the Bucks to Brooklyn. The Pelicans get, they get Nick Claxton, and they get the Bucks 2025 pick this year from us, and they also get an extra first-round pick from Detroit plus seconds from Detroit, and then Detroit gets Brandon Ingram and Day'Ron Sharpe. I think that deal makes a lot of sense. You may be able to even keep Day'Ron in that sense because you would be moving off of Claxton, but I had him just thrown in there as an in case. But either way, Brooklyn gets a salary filler. They get a young player who's out for an extended period of time right now, and they also free up the $100 million off of the books from Claxton's contract. So, I think a Detroit, Brooklyn, New Orleans 3-team deal makes a ton of sense. I'm just hoping that Marks wakes up a little earlier because again, when he gives a player a contract, he tends to fall asleep at the wheel. In terms of urgency on moving them, especially when they underperform. So I would like to see him moved. I love Claxton. Been a big fan of him since he came into the league. But
should he go back to the blonde braids? Would that help his game?
No.
Okay. I was a big fan of the blonde braids. The ramen noodle.
The guy just needs to figure it the fuck out. I mean, it's been very disappointing. So
it's been and I think we're all going to be. Let me get to John, but I think we're all going to be on the same one accord here with Claxton. But go ahead, John. Give Nick Claxton a grade.
Well, I think most people know my feelings on Claxton the last few months, but I'm not going to give him an F. I'm going to give him a D- because at the end of the day, he has been really bad this year. And you just think about it, like when the big three were here, he was playing probably the best basketball of his career because nobody was guarding him. His defense was very good, and offensively, he was getting to the rim like more than anybody else. But now you take away all that. What is Claxton? A guy who can do a dunk once in a while. He does a hook shot, but yeah, it's this guy. This is supposed to be the year for him to start taking chances. The fact he's taken about 18 mid-range shot attempts in 41 games, it's embarrassing, man. For the money he's getting right now, this should have been the season for him to experiment with the three-point shot more, to make some of these. And it just feels like it was a hassle even to get that out of him. But the fact that he had all these outbursts this year, these emotional ejections, like you got gifted $100 million with zero accolades to your name. And Jordy this summer was saying, oh, I see Claxton as a Sabonis. Well, you're 133rd with 2.1 assists. That's not Sabonis. You're averaging 9.7 points, which is 139th in the league. The best thing Claxton has given you is 7.5 rebounds, which is 30th in the league, but he's been getting out-rebounded by the team's best or worst centers.
Yeah, it's not good. He's playing a ton of minutes. His rebounding percentages are not good. He's taking a hit on his rebounding percentages. I'm going to just weigh in now, but I'm going to give him a D also, and I'm only giving him a D because, look, nothing professional, strictly personal, Claxton. I like you. You're one of my favorite Nets. I'm a big fan of yours, so I'm giving you a D because I don't want to personally give you an F, although you deserve an F. The emotional outbursts, the technical fouls, I'm not a fan of. His offensive game is putrid. His defensive game, he's getting abused by fives. I'm not seeing even the same rim protection and shot blocking I've seen in the past. There's just nothing that I can say positive about him. Like, I have no good words for Nick Claxton other than that he's a Brooklyn Net. That's really all I got for him. I got nothing positive to say about Nick Claxton.
You're being very generous with him. It's just like, who are you? He thinks like he's Dennis Rodman or something, man, with the way he acts on people. And it's like you got gifted a whole lot of money, and I don't know, the manager told him, like, listen, we're rebuilding for maybe 1 or 2 years max. We believe in you. We want you to take more chances on this team, be a leader. And what Claxton did, he says, I don't give a crap. I got my money. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. Well, if you have that type of attitude, you can't be on this team. And honestly, he's probably the most detrimental to Jordy's system, because how can Jordy tell these young guys, look up to a guy like Claxton who wants to get ejected so he can go drink a martini while wearing some fashion clothes in the back? Well, these guys are busting their asses, grinding, and trying to give Jordy effort. It comes with commitment. And the crazy thing is, anybody should have a gripe on this team is Cam Thomas. He should be doing what Claxton's doing right now. Instead, you know what? Thomas has been very professional, very mature this year, and he fits Jordy's system more than Claxton does. So at the end of the day, like Dylan says, if you could find a team that can better utilize him, that can make him a better part of the system. You look at a team like the Hawks, they got expiring salary, they got a prospect, they got draft capital. You can make a deal happen. If you can't, draft night, pair him with those late picks, and move up in the draft to get somebody. Like, there are alternatives here with Claxton. It's just, is Sean Marks going to make the move? Sean Marks feels like he has to be everybody's best friend, but Claxton clearly is detrimental to our future. You can't have an undersized center who can't be an offensive power forward be on your team. You need a legitimate center that can rebound, defend, and can create his own offense. We will never win a championship if this guy needs a point guard to unlock 89% of his offense. You just can't do it. So hopefully,
John, you
we
want
will
the
move
next
on
one?
to Claxton.
John,
I
you want
want
the
to
next
pitch the
one?
trade. I
Oh,
want
go
to pitch
ahead.
the trade because
Mhm.
somebody in the comments, I don't think, understood it really well. So it's a 3-team deal: Detroit, Brooklyn, and New Orleans, right? Just going from top to bottom. New Orleans gets Nick Claxton, a 2025 Bucks first-round pick from us, and a 2027 Pistons first-round pick, plus 3 second-round picks from Detroit. That clears them $8.4 million in cap space. They get their starting center. They still have McCollum to move off of to build the rest of the roster. Brooklyn gets Tim Hardaway Jr., Jaden Ivey, and a 2026 first-round pick swap with the Pelicans or Bucks. You're pretty much sacrificing that 2025 pick, thinking that it's not going to get any lower than it is, for a 2026 pick that you don't have any additional draft capital in besides your own pick. So I think adding a 2026 pick is huge. And then Detroit would get Brandon Ingram. So pretty much Detroit only has to give up 3 seconds of first, Jaden Ivey and Hardaway for Ingram, which I think is a great deal for them. He's an all-star. You get a star duo in him and Cade Cunningham. They still have Malik Beasley. They still have Tobias Harris. They still have Isaiah Stewart. They don't have to get rid of Jalen Duren in this deal. And they still have draft capital to build the rest of the roster. Plus, they have cap space to bring back Ingram without it really affecting them long term. So the deal makes sense all around. You keep Day'Ron there. I know I mentioned him before, but in this one specifically, I have us keeping him there. Brooklyn saves $3.3 million out of this deal as well. So keeps you under the luxury tax in the first apron. But that's the deal I would do for him immediately. I think it's a no-brainer.
Interesting.
Let me get to the next one, John. Everyone's favorite. This is not going to be a lightning rod at all. Ben Simmons. Give me a grade on Ben Simmons.
Can I go below Z? Can I actually go below Z on a
You
grade
give
scale?
it. You give it an F, right?
Yeah, F minus, whatever you want to call it. Listen, at the end of the day, Sean Marks' worst trade will go down in his resume is that Ben Simmons move. You could trade James Harden anywhere. You trade him for a guy who was injured and has been nothing close to what he was about 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. And unfortunately, we've had to deal with this for so many. We had deals for 3+ years now of a guy collecting $100 million+ while missing over 150 games. Like, that just can't happen. And now this season, now he finally wants to tell the front office we should be winning. You had 2 chances to win when Katie and Kyrie were here. You botched it up. When Mikal and Johnson, well, Johnson's still here. When those guys were here, you had the chance to be the lead point guard. You botched it up after 5 games. Like, at the end of the day, now this guy wants to win when we're ready to be done with him. I just can't wait. So after 3 more months, I keep saying this, 3 more months, so we have to no longer deal with this headache. I mean, this guy's worse than Bernie Madoff with the money he has stolen from the league right now. And for us as Brooklyn fans, man, we need players on this team we can rely on, depend on, who want to be here, who don't just want to show up and make noise and be, wild when they feel like it. Ben Simmons, man, is one of the most bipolar players I've ever seen in the league, and I can't wait till we're done with him. Listen, go to Milan, go to the Himalayas, go to Euro, go make your $30, $40 million walking fashion lines. I don't care. I want players on this team that are committed to basketball, and basketball. And Ben Simmons is not one of those guys. So give him the F minus, send him on the way out after the deadline, let him collect his money, call up Killian Hayes, and let's get our top draft pick.
Guys, do tap the like button like Breezy said. I think this is going to be universal as well. But give him a grade. Dylan, Ben Simmons. So
Yeah,
far.
you guys are completely wrong on my end. I actually listen. I've liked Ben since he came into the league. I've always been pulling for him.
Dang it, Dylan.
Wait, Gary. To Ben's point, Ben Simmons does need an Oli fan, and Dylan has volunteered. I'm kidding, bro.
I was basing this season off for him, regardless of availability, and he's been available. He has been available for the majority of games. I'm going to give him a B-. He's looked healthy. He has looked engaged offensively, especially the past month. I'm happy to see it. It's it comes at the wrong time, of course, which is unfortunate. But you never want to see a player, especially one who was as hyped up as he was, fall due to injuries. So it's nice to see him be partially back. It's I still would buy him out. Let's just put it that way. So I'm going to give him a B- for the year so far, halfway through the season.
I guess I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. I'm giving him a D. Like, he's played, and I think that he's a better option at the 5 than Nick Claxton, honestly. So I'm not going to give him an F because he's probably our best option as a big. If we're not going to play,
I can find a G League would be a better option right now.
I mean, maybe. But I'm going to give him a D. Like, he has played, he has been available, so I'm not going to fail him for the same reason I didn't fail at Claxton. I should probably actually give him a D+, but I'm not going to because I don't like him. I'm going to give him a D. He's contributed to some degree. He's played. He's gotten on the court. He still has the vision. He still has the size. He's done something. But this is a guy making $40 million. It's still the worst contract in the sport. And to say that the guy on the worst contract in the sport is getting a D, not an F, means he's contributed. He's done something positive. And in some games, he has.
Got to have the worst contract.
Yes, he filled up his bank account, Gary. You're 100% right on that, man. Listen, what Ben Simmons is doing right now is grade A chess right now. The richest man in basketball. At this point,
you have to put Beal as the worst contract, though. The guy's making $50 million for the next 2 years.
Yeah, but offensively, he's getting.
Would you rather have Beal for 50, who still averages 17, 18 points a game on fairly efficient shooting, or Ben Simmons, who takes a dump all over himself every night?
Oh, jeez.
If you want to say Beal, I'm not. I just think like Beal's a much better contributor than Ben Simmons, who contributes. I'm not going to say nothing, and that's why I didn't give him an F. He contributes something. It's just very little.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him a D.
The high luxury bill, Gary. That's what he contributes. A high luxury bill.
let me start with you on this one. I think this is going to be all over the place, but I want to start with you on this one, Dylan. Cam Johnson.
Fucking hate this guy.
I hate him too. You're gonna be surprised by my grade.
He is. Before I even give the grade, he is one of my 5 least favorite Nets of all time. Like, I absolutely fucking hate this guy. I haven't hated a player this much since Joe Harris. Because no, Joe Harris single-handedly fisted us in the Bucks series. That guy's a fucking asshole.
Cook. Talk
He's
to him,
an
Dylan.
Asshole. Everything that he did in Brooklyn was just diminished after he could not hit a fucking 3 in the final 2 minutes of each of the last 3 games. But yeah, no, I hate Cam Johnson. Like, everybody hates a strong. No, I fucking hate the guy. He is ruining everything that we need right now. So I'm gonna give him a B. And the only reason I say that is because he is overachieving. He is looking great. He is scoring at will. He's doing it efficiently. He is doing everything right. In terms of a grade, realistically, it's a B. My grade is a fuck you. It's an F. Because I can't stand him, and then how badly he's ruining what we have going for us. So the respectable, based on performance grade, is a B. The way that I feel about him is an F.
That's fair. That's it. That you didn't hold your personal feelings.
No, it's still fuck Cam Johnson. I will.
I understand, but you didn't lash out on his grade that way. You didn't give him an F because you don't like him.
Yeah, no, I'll be realistic.
All right, John, Cam Johnson.
It's funny how me and Dylan have so much different opinions on the 2 guys we don't like. least on the team, but it's fun. Yeah, listen, Cam Johnson, I'm gonna be very fair, but I have a two-parter. I'm gonna go with the first part. Listen, what Cam Johnson's done this season has been nothing short of extraordinary. I mean, I'll give him an A just because he had a lot riding this season. He was probably our best trade asset going into the summer. And this season, he's definitely met expectations. I mean, averaging 19.6 points a game. That's good for 41st. 49.9% field goal, 34th in the league. And, he's done good with his assist and rebounding, got better at that. Defensively, he's still not getting much from him. But offensively, he's definitely set a high bar, 50% field goal, 47 from three. This is definitely the best year of his career at 28. He's finally peaked when, in the Suns, it was like always in between because of his injury history. But now this is why you have a golden opportunity to get the best haul you can for him. Now this is where I'm going to part two. I know some people are really high on this guy because he said he wants to be here. But at the end of the day, guys, I'm going to say this very slowly. He's a role player. You put this guy on.
I'm grading him for what he is. I'm not asking you to grade him against Anthony Edwards. I'm asking you just to give him a grade.
No, but Gary, I'm gonna address some. There's some people right now that are willing to keep this guy if they don't get a mid-cal trade package for him. Listen, if you get 2 firsts or a first and a prospect, take it and be merry. Because at the end of the day, we are full of assets. This just put the cherry on top. Once we get this Johnson deal done, we will officially have the most draft capital in the NBA. There's your power play advantage. That's what my end game is with this Cam Johnson stuff. Not to keep him, because if you keep him, there's a high chance in the offseason you could pair him with a Nick Claxton and draft assets to get a Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I know many people don't want that, but at the end of the day, you keep him. Sean Marks is not going to keep him to be a third star on a team with a star. He's a 5th option at best on a contending team. So if you guys want to keep him, be prepared for some consequences that might not go your way. And if you keep him to he's 31, he's not going to replicate this. He's doing this on a bad team, playing the best basketball of his career. But to ask him to replicate this the rest of his career when he's injury prone, you're asking for a whole lot. You're asking for a magic act and a Hail Mary in one. And you're probably not going to get it. You're probably going to be lucky to get a watered down version of Klay Thompson. So right now is the time to trade Johnson, whose value is at the highest, because if you don't, we're stuck in Dorian Finney-Smith 2.0 territory. So wake up, Marks, get the deal done, and let's get our value back for this guy.
All right, I'm going to actually agree with Jonathan. I'm going to give him an A, and I agree with Dylan. I absolutely hate this guy.
Fuck Cam Johnson.
Yeah, but he's played up. If you want to trade him, he's played up his value. He has improved on taking the ball to the basket. He's improved in rebounding. Like all that really softer Sarman stuff. It's gotten better. He's not just standing there. Like he's creating his own shot a little bit. He's doing some things that make him look like a better basketball player, and his stats are all there. He's, take away the first week or two of the season, and he's basically 20 points a game on 50, 40, 90. Like, he's been really, really good, and he's played up his value. So I couldn't have asked anything more for him than what he's done this year. So I'm going to give him an A, right? Like, at the beginning of the season, go back 2 months ago, we were talking about, do the Nets have to attach a pick to him just to trade him? He's gone from there to I want 2 firsts or a first and a prospect. He's played really well. He's done more than you would have hoped for and more than would have expected. So I'm going to give him an A.
If there's anybody out there in the comments that wants to make a fuck Cam Johnson t-shirt, please feel free to hit me up because I will. Yeah, no, fuck that guy. I'm sorry. He's playing great, but just get him the fuck off my team. I'm sorry.
And I think you can do that now and get value for him, more value than you would have hoped for. That's why I'm giving him an A.
This is interesting. The Jazz and Kings have conducted talks in regards to John Collins. That's interesting.
Wow. The Kings pivoted from Cam Johnson to Kyle Kuzma to John Collins. Yeah, De'Aaron Fox is going to be gone soon, guys. Listen, the Kings, man, they're playing such an idiotic game. They are the Western Conference version of the Brooklyn Nets. They've been through 5 coaches. The manager and president know what the hell they're doing. If John Collins is what you think is going to keep De'Aaron Fox on that team, listen, get him to Brooklyn in 2 years, man, because he ain't going to stay for John Collins, man. If that goes down, yikes.
All right, the next one's going to be fun. He's gotten hurt, so he's missed a lot of games, but just based on what he's done, and then you can give him an incomplete if you want because he's missed a lot of the assignment. Cam Thomas. John, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to take a leak, and I'll be right back. But what grade are you giving Cam Thomas?
Gary, thanks for that information. But listen, I think let's all be honest here. I think we all want to give an incomplete, as far as what it should be because he hasn't played this whole season. But I will also give him right now a B just because surprisingly he fit very well into Jordy's system. Listen, when we're trying to figure out what Cam Thomas the last year and a half is, can he fit in the system? Can he be coachable? Because listen, he's got the confidence, he's got the moxie, he's got the ego, right? But it's how can you contain that and become a professional basketball player? And in the short sample size, 17 starts, 2 off the bench, he has shown you a new level of maturity and professionalism and just embracing his own villain role. At the end of the day, the NBA media can scrutinize Cam Thomas and say he's not worthy of being in top 100, top 50, but in that month of November, he played phenomenal basketball. You look at that Kings game where it was just mainly him against Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, and DeMar DeRozan. He killed it with a 30, 40-plus point performance, led the team in assists. That was a great night for him, and he wasn't feeling well and dealing with injuries. So Cam Thomas this season has definitely done pretty well in that short sample size. But also at the same time, it's unfortunate in a contract year he's been injured again. And I know nobody wants to give him the injury label, but I hope when he does re-sign with this team this upcoming summer, that next season he gets through a full season without any injury issues, because you want this guy to show you through a full season that he could be on a level of a rising star. I feel like a lot of people are ready to give him that title. Personally, I want him to get through a full season so I can validate that for him, because a lot of people believe in this in Cam Thomas. But Cam Thomas, in a crucial season, if and when he comes back, just needs to keep staying the way, keep being professional, and letting his basketball shine on the court, because Coach Jordy has clearly found a system where he can work with. So it'll be interesting to see after this year, going to next year, how Cam Thomas can keep evolving his game, because so far this season, he's definitely put in an effort to work on the weaknesses. So I'll give him a B. I'll give him a B right now, but overall it's an incomplete, but I'll give him a B right now.
Dylan, what says you?
I'm going to be a little different, and I'm only saying this, again, because I base availability as one of the key factors in grading a player. I'm going to say a C+. He has performed very well. He has done everything that we've needed him to do in terms of scoring. His playmaking has improved, and his defense has improved. In terms of his play style, I would give him an A-. But in terms of the availability, because he's only played 19 of the 41 games, I have to drop that down to almost a D. So I'm meeting him in between. I'm going to go with like the C++ range. I think it's a realistic grade, though, because, like I said, he's performing well, but he's injured. And he has not shown the availability to be the number one on this team, at least during the rebuilding season. So I'd like to see more availability. Of course, they may be milking this a little bit just to lose a little bit, which, if that's the case, completely understand. I'd bump that up to a B. But as of right now, if you're combining his play style mixed with his availability, I'm giving him a C+.
I'm going to give him a B+. And the only reason I'm not giving him an A or an A- is the availability. I agree with Dylan that, like, availability is important. He's missed half or more than half the games, right?
Yeah.
That's a problem. My only thing here really is I don't think that he wants to miss the games. I think he's being held out, which you can't hold against him. I think
that's why I said if he's being held out, then I bump it up to like a B+.
But he's improved defensively. He's improved his shot selection. He's improved a lot of things. He's improved. We're talking about Claxton's improved nothing. Cam Thomas, at least effort defensively. He doesn't get picked on and abused like he used to. It's not, matchup hunt for Cam all game. He's not getting abused defensively. His rebounding seems improved. His ball handling and playmaking and shot selection seems improved. So I'm going to give him a B+. The only reason I'm marking him down is because of the availability. So I'm going to give him a B+. Next, this is going to be interesting. I want to see these grades. Dylan, I'll start with you. Clowney.
I'm going to say B-. The reason for it, he has looked very well, but when he doesn't, he looks very bad. There's really like no in between. He has looked very well more than he has very bad, which is a great thing. But the consistency in his shot, I'm not the biggest fan of his shot selection. I'd like to see him take a one dribble pull up. I'd like to see him drive to the rim more because he is 6'10", 6'11". The excessive amount of three-point shooting, I'm not the biggest fan of. But overall, he has looked very solid. He has been much better defensively than Nick Claxton has been. He's improved his three-point percentage and his threes per game, which is great. His scoring has gone up. Overall, I would say, he's around like that B- to B range.
John?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Dylan, B minus. I think for Clowney this season, what has been so great is the 3-point development because going into the summer, he wants to obviously work on that. And so far this season, he's really becoming a bit of a marksman. And, some games it looks like he really has it, some games he doesn't. It's his second, I would say it's his first real year as far as just getting more into a main role. But as far as the second year goes right now, he's done pretty well. And now he's trying to hold down that starting power forward spot. At the end of the day, his future looks like as powerful. I know we're trying to look at maybe being censored, but he still needs to develop a lot more muscle. And you can maybe revisit the conversation in a year or two. But right now, as power forward, offensively, he looks more freer. If he was trying to play center, I don't think you're getting a lot of offense from Clowney because having him at center against all these big time center stars, it would be a tall ask, So looking at his progression right now, I think this summer, work on his dribbling game a lot more, get to the rim a lot more, make that more of a key part. Because I remember that Kings game before he went down, he was getting to the free throw line a few times trying and getting foul calls, which was good. I want to see more of that. And I'm very proud of his free throw line too. He's been pretty good at the free throw line lately. I want him to keep working on that too. Like I keep telling people, you're going to see little bits and pieces of Clowney putting together, and you have this season, but you have to give another season for him to really put it all together, and I think he will. I think what Clowney's showing you is he's willing to learn, he's willing to grow, and he cares about it. I know he got ejected yesterday, but he cares. I like the fire that Clowney has. Keep it. Keep working on your game, and you'll let the cards fall where they may, because I think Clowney has a great future being a main piece of our team at the power forward position just because he looks committed, and the defensive rebounding is going to get better as he gets stronger. So I'm proud of what I've seen from Clowney this year, B minus, and just keep improving.
I'm going to give Clowney a B for a lot of the same reasons. Defensively, he's better than Claxton. My big question for him was, could he hit the three ball consistently? And he's hit the three ball consistently. Now that's become the only aspect of his game offensively, which I don't love. He's taking a lot of shots, like threes, 5 seconds into the shot clock. I like to see him put a dribble down, try to draw a foul, try to draw a double team, right? He can do that at this point. See what he can do as opposed to just launching a three as soon as he gets an open look. He's shooting threes like he's peak Ray Allen or Klay Thompson. I'm not – Jordy wants to shoot threes, so I get it, but I want to see more offensive game from him than just shooting the three. And he's shooting such a high percentage of his shots and points come from the three ball. And I'm glad that he can hit that. And like I said, I think that he has potentially – he could be the best guy we've drafted and developed in our organization since Kenyon Martin, since maybe Kenny Anderson, Derek Coleman. That's how bad we've drafted, but that's how highly I think of Noah Clowney. So I'm going to give him a B. I like what I see, but there's certainly room for improvement.
Definitely.
All right, I'll start with you, John. This is just going to be fun. Keon Johnson. I mean, I'm sure we're not going to have too many thoughts on Keon, but Keon.
Listen, I'm going to be generous. I'll give him a C minus just for his effort. Listen, at the end of the day, we know he's not going to be a starter. He'll be lucky to be a backup. Third string player is definitely a potential goal for him on a team. I think for him, he's been very hungry to want to get a role on a team, and a lot of teams haven't given him that opportunity because of the offensive game. He's got the wingspan. He's got the agility where he could get to the court sometimes and score different ways. It's just offensively, can he put it all together? I think what's so great during this little tough run is he's been one of the bright spots. I mean, averaging around 20 points for his last few games. That's pretty great for his growth. He's working on the three-point shot. He's taking a lot of threes when we're trying not to win games. So I appreciate Keon Johnson for his sacrifice.
He's a great tank piece, by the way. He's an awesome tank piece.
An excellent tank piece. Probably better than Killian as a tank piece. But, I think what's so great for guys like Keon Johnson is the coach believes in him and wants him to develop. You hope guys like him can get on a team, whether that's being a third-string piece. A lot of teams need those guys. So if Coach Jordy could give Keon Johnson that opportunity, whether it's on a different team or not, good for Keon on that note. Because at the end of the day, he's perfect for a tank. He's exactly the tanking guy you want. But at the end of the day, I'll give him a C minus just because he's shown you effort and he cares more than Claxton has. Yeah, see how I put that in there?
Dylan, Keon Johnson.
Yeah, I'd say the same, like a C plus. He's not a horrible player. I don't think that the hate that he gets, especially from Gary, is very justifiable.
Man, Gary, what did Keon Johnson do to you, man?
He's terrible.
He is a hard-nosed defender. He's athletic. I don't think he's the worst player in the world. And you also have him on literally a league minimum deal pretty much for 2 or 3 years. So he's not horrible. I'll just give him a C plus. There's really not much I can say. There's just he's mid. That's all.
I'm gonna give him a C. Like this is what he is. I don't like. I'm grading someone for what they are, and he's like you said, he's a hard-nosed defender. He's an athlete. He gives max effort, so I'm not gonna fail him. Right? He does what he's asked. So I'm gonna give him a C. I just don't think he's very good. I look at him, and you say he's on a minimum contract because he's a minimum player. You get what you pay for in life. Right? He's a minimum player. He's a horrible shooter. He shoots a ton of threes, which I guess is what they want. He's an excellent tank piece. He really, really is an excellent tank piece, but he gives max effort and he defends. It's disgusting to me that this guy starts in the NBA. I don't think he starts on some G League teams. I just don't know what he offers you besides he gives you a lot of effort on defense.
That's probably the nicest thing you've ever said about him.
I was actually relatively high on him. He's athleticism. He can handle the ball a little bit of the summer league. I'm like, all right, this guy might be okay. But you watch him, and I don't know. Do you see a rotational NBA player in him? I don't. So he's had some good games. He's had some decent games. So I'm going to give him a C. I'm going to stick with a C. So we're all in that C range, C minus, C plus, C. I'm going to give him a C because I think for what he is, he gives max effort. He's performed. He's done an adequate job for what he is. Dylan, Tyrese Martin. This is an interesting one.
I'm going to give him a B. He's overperformed. I mean, he's a two-way player, and he has a 30-plus point game to his career already as a two-way player. Yeah, he's played solid. I'd give him a B.
John?
Dylan's been a mouth drop, so pause. But
pause.
Yeah. I mean, because I was expecting to give the guy a B, but I'll be fair. I'll give him a C plus. I think he made himself a legend when he had that big 30-plus point performance against the Suns. Before that, his career high was 31 points total, and I think he went over that in that game against the Suns. Yeah, listen, Martin's been a very serviceable piece to this team. Offensively, gives you some things. Good energy guy. I don't know what the future is with this guy. If he'll get a standard contract, because we'll have the Killian Hayes thing to situate. Hopefully, we'll get one of these guys a standard contract before the season ends, because you need pieces like this for your next year. Let's remember this too. We got to fill out a roster this summer. We're going to be down to maybe 4 or 5 guys on this team when it's all said and done potentially. At the end of the day, if Martin could be a piece for you next year, he's not going to affect your long-term win percentage if the goal is to get 2 picks in this year's draft and next year. So I'm all for re-signing this guy to a very cheap deal if management sees that. I think this guy is good for your tank. He's a good energy piece. And maybe, in the future, he could be a third-string guy that you need when you rest your stars. It's yet to be told. So I'll give him a C+, just similar to Johnson. This kid gives you effort on the court more than Nick Claxton. See how I got a trend now going?
I'm grading guys on what I expected. I did not expect much from him. I didn't want him on the roster. I wanted Amari Bailey on the roster. That being said, he's been a contributor. I'm giving him a B+, not because I think he's a very good player. He's just exceeded my expectations for him. He had that one monster game. He's a contributor. He plays a role in this team. He demands minutes every game, and I didn't see any of that coming. I thought this was a guy that was going to lose all of his minutes and all of his burn to Whitehead. And he's played himself into the rotation. And then, I don't cringe when he's on the court like I do Keon Johnson. So I'm going to give him a B+. All right. Zaire. Who wants to go first? Dylan, you want to go first with Zaire?
Yeah, I'm going to give him, again, I want to give him an A, but the availability has been a problem, and the inconsistencies with the 3 has been a problem. So I'm going to give him a B-. I think he is definitely a key rotation piece in the future and should definitely be re-signed this offseason. But there was a gap where he started the season off looking like a 40% three-point shooter, and he's dropped a bit from there. And then the availability, of course, which has been the story of his career. So hopefully the second half of the season, he continues to do what he's doing. He's been great defensively. So yeah, hopefully he can just keep progressing as a three-point shooter and become one of the premier 3-and-D players in the league. But I definitely think we found a gem as long as you can re-sign him in the offseason. And just based on his availability, hopefully he can continue to stay healthy. This is one of the healthiest seasons he's had, but you'd still like to see a little bit more games played by this time of year.
John, Zaire, give him a grade.
Listen, you guys know I've been very high on this guy. I'm gonna be very fair in my grade. I'm gonna give him a C plus, just because you know what, I really appreciate his effort this year defensively. I don't think I was expecting him to be this, intensive on defense. You saw it even in training camp. He really crashed into an announcer's table because he wanted to play tough defense in a preseason game. Like that heart and hustle. Another connection with Jordy. Like he even said, like I love when Jordy and these guys get in my face. That gritty pit bull. Like you gotta do better on at every given night basis. Like Zaire loves that type of communication, and it's shown on the court. He's been a pit bull. He even said, I feel like I was free from a cage, like I could fly, and you've seen that this season. The three-point shot he's worked on. It's still not perfect, but he's worked on it, and he's hit some threes this year. He's had some offensive games where he broke out a little bit. I feel like the same thing with Dylan. I wish he didn't get hurt, and it wasn't his fault. The guy ran into his knee, so it's unfortunate that went down the way it does, but I'm all for re-signing this guy next year. I think he's a perfect developmental piece that Jordy likes, and defensively, you need the defense on this team when you eventually want to get better. So I think Zaire could be on this team for the foreseeable future if he has a really good second half. And you think about it, we traded a G League guy for him and a second round pick in that Mikal trade. So we kind of got a bargain steal right there with Zaire, because we weren't expecting the defense to be that good. And so far, he's shown you really well. That game against the Pelicans, where he blocked both Ingram and Herb Jones at the rim, that is the potential you want with a guy like Zaire. If you have a closing lineup and that guy could guard the opposing team's best players. So there's still a lot of development with Zaire, but definitely he's had some bright spots this year. So I'll give him a C plus, and I hope he has a great second half, and there's a chance we could re-sign him this summer.
We're all about. I'm giving it a B minus, so we're all in that B minus C plus range for a lot of the same reasons. Defensively, he's a beast. He hounds you. I love watching him play defensively. He's missed some games, so I got to mark him down on that. I would want to give him a higher grade, but I got to mark him down a little bit for the availability. And his three ball has been, I guess, what I expected. It's been hot and cold. But all in all, I see a guy I want back next year. I'd like to bring him back next year. So for that reason, I'm going to give him a B minus. And again, you have a rotational guy here who you can keep relatively cheap. So he's proven that like I said, like Keon Johnson doesn't belong in an NBA rotation. Zaire Williams certainly does. So I'm going to give him a B minus. All right. Next is Day'Ron Sharpe. John?
Yeah, I think we'd have some different interpretations about this. And I know, Gary, we talked potentially keeping him, but in fairness, I'm going to give him a C minus this year. It's unfortunate he got injured, because I even said last year, I felt like last year he was finally putting it all together.
You are a brutal grader. I understand this team is
no, I'm actually doing very fair in my grades, because at the end of the day, I can't make these grades about what I personally like. It's about being fair. And in this case with Day'Ron, C minus, just because he was injured for a good part of the season. Unfortunately, I feel like last year
it's your grades and it's fine, but just to be accurate here, you've given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys a C or worse. And
Gary, do you not see our record? I will spend the next hour telling you exactly what you want to see.
You can grade him however you want to grade him. That's fine.
Listen. At the end of the day, it's unfortunate he got injured to start the season, because I feel like this would be an important year for him to prove why he should potentially get a contract. But he got injured. He kind of fell back. When he came back, it was good to see him contribute a little bit. But I think most people are disappointed with the fact that Day'Ron Sharpe, unfortunately, defensively, he's not as lateral. He can't guard too many people. He can rebound. He's an excellent rebounder. We all agree this guy could be an Andre Drummond type rebounding piece as a backup for you, but we know he's not probably going to be a starter. And unfortunately, with these next 2 drafts and us drafting potentially 3 to 4 to 5 guys, Day'Ron Sharpe unfortunately moves even more backwards as a depth piece. And that's worrying for you, because you want this guy to play, but it kind of feels like our timeline kind of does a disservice to Day'Ron. If he's not playing a lot of minutes, you'd hope he could do that somewhere else. And I know you don't want to talk about that, Gary, but, and Dylan could try to back me up on this. Day'Ron Sharpe has been in a lot of different trade rumors. There's a market for him as a backup right now. You look at teams like Lakers. I hear that they wanted him in the Doe deal. They might circle back. Memphis, Clippers. I'll even say the Knicks. They make a Jericho Sims available. I don't mind taking more assets from a team like that. Like, there are different teams right now that have an interest potentially in a Day'Ron Sharpe. And unfortunately, feel like the timeline and the market and his future as a restricted free agent are kind of going against him right now. So if he stays with this team, we could definitely work with it. But if he doesn't, I wish Day'Ron the best, and I'll give him a C minus right now, just because it feels like a lot of things are going against him right now, unfortunately.
Dylan, Day'Ron Sharpe.
Again, like I said, availability plays a huge role. I don't think he's been giving a fair opportunity with the minutes that he's been playing. I would have liked to see more opportunities, especially in games that Claxton's out, where he's starting alongside Clowney. But we really haven't seen it much. So I'm gonna have to give him a C minus. The production has not fully been there. Offensive rebounding wise, he looks great, but a lot of those are because he's a horrible finisher at the rim. So I'm just being honest. I would like to see him become a better finisher. I would like to see him, space the floor a bit. He can do it. It's not at a high clip, but 20-25%, take one a game. I don't care. But yeah, he's got the framework in terms of his body, but he does have that. So it's interesting. Like John said, he definitely is a trade asset that could potentially be thrown into a Cam Johnson deal or, flipped for some seconds. But do I want to see it happen? No. If it happens, would I be surprised? No. So yeah, we'll see. But C minus is where I'd put him at.
I'm going to give him a C plus. I see a rotational guy here. I like to start him moving forward. I like to start him and Clowney just for the rest of the season. Like, why not? Let's just see how it looks together. He's the only guy on the team that carries his weight as a rebounder. I haven't seen the development in his offensive game. He's a horrible finisher. I want to see him shoot more threes, actually. I just haven't seen any development in his game offensively, but he is what he is. And like I said, as the only guy that carries his own weight as a rebounder and as a guy who I think has proven to be a rotational NBA player, I'm going to give him a C plus. I'm going to go a little higher than you guys, than your C minus. But we're all on a similar page with Day'Ron Sharpe. But I don't want to trade him, by the way. I want to resign him for $10 million a year and have him be at least our backup center. There were reports that the Nets were the
favorites to land Jerick
Sims sweepstakes. For what reason? Like, he'd be all right. That was interesting. Like, he's a much better player than Jericho Sims. Jalen Wilson. Dylan, you want to go first?
Yeah, I actually think he's fallen off. I've not been a fan of what I'm seeing from him. I'm not going to harshly grade him, but I think that he is around that C minus range as well. He's underperformed. The 3-point shooting has dropped off a bit. He explodes for 5 points within 2 minutes, but then he dies out for the rest of the night. It's strange. Yeah, I think C minus is pretty fitting. Dariq Whitehead, though, definitely still has the potential to top him in terms of as a rotational piece.
And John, go ahead. Jalen Wilson.
Yeah, well, contrary to some people saying that I once valued this guy as a piece of the game, Tom, it's totally false. Totally, I don't know where that's coming from. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be very fair with him. I'm going to give him a C. I just feel like, to Dylan's point, he's kind of fallen back a little bit. I felt like at the beginning of the season, he was good. The 3-point shot was falling. I call this kid the chameleon because it always seems like when offensive rebounds are on that side of the court, he seems to find them and get that extra shot in the hoop and nobody's expecting it. So I think that's been a good part of his game. I thought his rebounding numbers were kind of solid in the beginning a bit, which is good for him because he has to make an impact somewhat on different sides of the ball. He's worked on the assists a little bit, still not where they should be. But, yeah, I just feel like right now with him, he's, 23, 24 years old. It kind of feels like he's a bit ahead of our timeline, which could make him an expendable piece, maybe in a trade in the deadline or the offseason. I don't know. I'm surprised I'm saying that. But at the end of the day, if there are pieces that can take away his role, it makes him expendable, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see what his future is with this team if there are better options in the draft, especially with this draft coming up. Is there going to be a guy or two on this team that might get taken out just because the prospects are a lot better than they are? So
what's your grade, John? I'm sorry. What's your grade?
A C.
I'm actually going a little hard. I had higher expectations of him, so he's failed to meet my expectations. I thought he'd be a better finisher. I thought he'd be a better shooter. I thought he'd be a better defender. He's really disappointed me. I want to like Jalen Wilson. Tough-nosed guys. He comes from my neck of the woods. I'm a big fan of him. He's, like I said, he's 10 minutes away from me. I want to like him, and I want him to be more than what he is. I don't see a rotational NBA player in Jalen Wilson, so I'm going to give him a D. And I wanted to like him. I thought he was going to have a breakthrough season where he would establish himself as a 3-and-D guy who can finish at the rim. But his shooting, his finishing, and his defense, to me, has all been underwhelming. So I'm going to give Jalen Wilson a D. just to go over the grade. I'm not going to do like Reese Beekman or Derek Whitehead or guys who barely play. So I'm just gonna, is there anyone else you want to give a grade to, guys?
Yeah,
This.
I'll mention Wofford. I give him a flat out F just because it's very disappointing that he's been injured pretty much this whole
played
damn
2
season.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he gets it incomplete. Wofford, he hasn't played.
Nah, but at the end of the day, this was an important season for him. He took the qualifying. Let's remember this. He could have opted for free agent and signed with somebody else, but nobody was going to sign him. He took the qualifying offer for betting on himself to have a great season to get some type of boost, and it failed. His backing on himself failed because he couldn't stay healthy. So, and I'll tell you this, Zaire Williams, I think, is taking his role away from this team. So if we keep Zaire, I don't think Wofford is going to be on this team next year. So Wofford gets an F for me.
Dylan, do you? Jeez.
I'm not giving him a grade.
Yeah,
the poor guy's played 2 games.
Oh, but you want to grade Wilson to death. See, Gary, you want to have your cake and eat it too,
Wilson
man.
plays every game.
Day. Wilson plays every game.
You just said you don't see him as a rotation player. You say he's horrible at everything.
He is horrible at everything. He's horrible.
I wouldn't say he's horrible at everything. I'd just say he's average.
He's underachieved. He's underwhelmed.
He's just a lesser Josh Hart at this moment in time.
He's both. He's.
Go ahead.
Listen, I'm a sum this all up. The players from all the young players on this team, going from Claxton all the way to Clowney, on average, bro, collectively, I'll give them a D plus, bro. Like this group is not is not valid to winning basketball, and they never will be. Claxton is who he is. Clowney is who he is. I don't really see none of these dudes making any leaps in their games. Jalen Wilson is, as you said, at average. On nights he could be below average. He's not going to get any bigger and better than what he is. His shot is probably the only thing that's NBA elite. If it on some nights, on most on not on most nights, on some nights, Clowney could be a good shooter on some nights. Clax could be a good lob threat on another team and a good defender on another team. Everybody was talking about him possibly going to Atlanta. Dylan, you was talking about him possibly going to Atlanta. If he goes to Atlanta, his career is like reborn, literally.
Yeah.
Like you put him with Trey Young, like that shit is that is cake. You get $100 million contract to them, and then they trying to come off Capella. That shit is easy. Everything
to
else.
Like Jared Allen going to Cleveland when he got traded there.
Exactly.
Garland's rookie year, and Allen
exactly. I believe all of these players, they will probably do well in different places sooner or later. But realistically, bro, we got so much work to do to get back to even becoming at minimum a 45 win team. We got so much work to do. I don't think people realize how much work we got to do. And I'm not just going off of last night's game. I'm going off the fact that if we don't want to continue forward with highly skilled veterans, you when you go from role player veterans to highly skilled veterans, you see the difference. Role player veterans like Dorian Finney-Smith, who we had last year, Derek Smith Jr., Dennis Smith Jr. Who else we had? Who was that? Dinwiddie. Those guys, those role player guys, that's not highly skilled in terms of role player skilled skilled veterans like D'Lo and like Ben to some extent, and Cam Johnson. I'm looking at these players and I'm looking at what they doing under Jordy Fernandez, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, we're gonna have to replace these guys, and I don't know how we're gonna replace them.
Leaf, I have a question for you, Leaf, because this kind of goes back to, we talked about Sean Marks in the beginning of the show. Like, do you think Sean Marks has control of this team? As you think about it, our goals and agendas should have been aligned to being a bottom 3 team, getting a top 3 pick. And so far this season, it seems like there have been different agendas. Jordy from the start said, listen, Sean, I'm not taking win as many games as possible, which he did. He won 10-plus game and defied win odds. The vets, they don't care about getting a top pick. They care about their own goals and agendas, and they nearly screwed us at potential draft pick. I mean, does Sean Marks, being best friend to everybody, which he always does, is this kind of like what could hurt him in the end? Is he really the GM of our future when he lets guys kind of do their own thing until he's forced to make a move? Like, does
Sean Marks is not in control, nor has he never been. He answers to somebody, which is Joe Tsai. He answers to somebody, bro. Like, and then as a GM, all the other things that's in the way, he has to placate. So if him and Jordy Fernandez go to Joe Tsai, and Joe Tsai is giving thumbs up to him instead of Jordy Fernandez, bro, then that's the only time when he has leeway. You know, the only time you're really gonna see this, what the team is really supposed to do, is when you see Joe Tsai show up to a game like he showed up in San Antonio, and Cam Johnson got the ball, and Cam Thomas did not at the last second. That's the only time you're really gonna see shit like that, bro. Like, he answers to somebody. So I don't want people to continue on getting on Sean Marks like he's in control. He's never been in control. He's been on the job. That's why he's been on the job 8 years. If he
Then who
was
do
in
we blame
control,
for
he would have
Portland
been gone
yesterday?
already.
When Leaf, then who we blame for pulling? If you look at that box score, that is not tanking at all. I mean, that's egregious when we saw that box score yesterday. Everybody in the plus, everybody doing great. Like, we could have easily served up a best dish, worst served to Portland and improving our draft odds, and we didn't. Like, we kind of ruined ourselves from being what, Dylan? Potentially worst fifth team in the league, potentially?
Right.
Like that shouldn't have happened. That's where it goes with who's
I'll answer
controlling
you.
this team right now. Is it Jordy controlling the team? If the coach is controlling this team, that's scary. If Jordy has that much power in 3 months of being on the job, that's scary.
I'll answer your question by saying this: who you blame? You don't blame. Who do you blame for Portland? You blame the NBA because they were actually keeping a close eye on the quote on the real possible injuries going into that game. Remind you, we had games off, and these dudes already sat out. Now I know people don't want to hear, yo, we supposed to sit this dude, da 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 da. But the NBA is paying more attention to us than they're doing Toronto, Washington, Utah, or any other other franchises, but because we are a top 5 valuable franchise. We gross in some billions. We gross in money. At the Toronto, Utah, all of them other teams that's bottom feeders. I don't even think they're over 750 million of net worth. Be honest with you, bro. Like, if you want to be technical, bro, like the NBA is paying close attention on who we're sitting, who we're playing, bro, and that is the reason why the Portland game went the way it went. That is one of the main reasons. That's the only conclusion I could come up with. Because what other conclusion can you come up with? Everybody wants to point to the
You
blame
want to know the
of
real
that one
conclusion?
game.
You want to know the real conclusion? Sean Marks, I know you want to put blame on him, but he doesn't have control. At the end of the day, I don't think he cares. At the end of the day, this guy's got 1,000 cat lives on this team. At the end of the day, if he was on any other team, he probably would have been fired a few years ago. Like, he's gotten fortunate with all the assets he was able to get back so quickly, mind you, from the KD and Bridges trades. But it's what you do with it. And so far this season, this has probably been the weirdest tank I've ever seen in my life. Because at the end of the day, screw what the NBA thinks. At the end of the day, we're the fourth richest organization. You have to pay a fine to rest a D'Lo and a Johnson. That shouldn't stop you from getting a top 3 pick at the end of the day. It's a little bit of cheddar. It's not your whole life savings. So to me and Dylan's point, you should have rested those guys.
It stopped Dallas because after the Kyrie trade, bro, they was on their way to tanking and doing that, and then this the third, and they was supposed to be guaranteed top 5 had they kept tanking, and the NBA left them alone. The NBA did, and they fined them $100,000, and they moved them back deliberately on that scale, or on that lottery scale. They were supposed to be at minimum 5 or 6. Because they had plummeted down because Luka and Kyrie Kyrie was the only person playing, and then Luka was basically out, but his injury had healed, and then the NBA found out about it, and then that's when Mark Cuban that's when they lowered the boom on Mark Cuban. The NBA is the Nets are trying to do this the right way. They're trying to do this tank the right way, and the right way is following the unwritten, the written or unwritten rules, quote unquote, of the NBA tanking rules, of the rules that they brought up, so they don't get fined like they did last year, bro. When Jacques Vaughn decided to sit guys, and he messed around and got fined for a Milwaukee game where we still got ass whooped by like 40.
Yeah, Leaf's right about that. I mean, the Nets weren't even tanking, and they were coming off a win at that time,
and we got fined.
Yeah. And a lot of this, like when you guys hate on Marks and stuff, and I hate on Marks too, so I'm not defending Marks, but like yes, he's not going to come out and say we're tanking, and he really can't. Well,
he just did. Gary, he just did 2 days ago.
He didn't say we were tanking. But
no, he can't. He can't actually use that word.
He said the wins don't matter. He said in his statement, systematically, we're going to do what's best for our team, and it's not necessarily winning games. That's admitted to it.
Yeah. No, John. What the thing is, you got to disguise it in a way that the NBA doesn't notice, bro. The reason why we started off.
Leaf. You think the NBA is that stupid? They know. They know.
The NBA is that stupid. We talking about the same NBA who fined Ja Morant for only 20-something games when we all know had this been David Stern, he would have got a whole season. So the NBA is stupid because they got a stupid ass goddamn commissioner. They got Mr. Mackey from South Park, bro, as the damn commissioner, bro. Like he's an idiot. He's still going. Wow. He's still going with the same. He's still going with the same agenda. Let's sell LeBron. Let's sell Steph when they're old and they're worn out and they're doodle. That's why they of course they got an idiot. They're gonna go with the same rhetoric. The Lakers and the Celtics are somehow gonna end up in the conference finals. That is idiot play, but and the ratings are gonna continue to plummet because you have an idiot. Of course we can get away with it. The Nets are doing this almost the exact right way it needs to be done. Trust me, it's going to work out in the end. We don't necessarily need the number 1 pick. If we end up getting it, we're gonna go with Cooper. Then everybody's gonna be calmed down, bro. Everybody's acting like the draft lottery is tomorrow, bro. We gotta just calm the hell down.
Let me jump in here for a sec though, because we were talking about where we could be at the end of the season, right? I'm looking at the bottom 8 teams currently right now on FanDuel and their projections. Washington's at over or under 15.5 wins. Utah's at 21.5. Toronto is at 23.5. Portland is at 24.5. Philly is at 37.5. New Orleans is at 22.5. Charlotte is at 23.5, and Brooklyn is at 22.5. So we're in a good spot right now. Realistically, like I said, one of Toronto or Charlotte should be able to jump us. Not both, but one. New Orleans should be able to jump us. So that'll put us at 4. If Portland and us are still 50-50, we may be.
I'm okay with being at 23, Dylan, just so we don't add a 60-loss season to our resume like the Knicks did for like 6 straight years. So I mean, I'm cool with that. So we had 59 wins. I'll be like, we didn't get 60 losses like y'all did, man. The tangerines we don't care about, man, because they're all gonna fall apart, man, because they're idiots and they got the Undertaker as their head coach. So it is what it is.
All right, guys, I need to wrap this up. I appreciate everyone coming on. I got to close this out now.
Great show.
Leaf, Dylan, John, thanks for hopping on with me. I got to wrap this up.
Appreciate it, Gary. Man, I'll be back tomorrow night. It's gonna be a night to remember. We're gonna face the Los Angeles free throw shooters. My game is I'm gonna go live at probably like 10. It's gonna be a whole bunch of idiot Laker fans, man. You know them all, y'all. Everybody knows them. Because I'm gonna be going live on Twitter. That's what all the idiot Laker fans think they could get trades off of us, and everybody's hype about D'Lo, and they still not going nowhere. So that's how stupid they are. But 10:30 tomorrow night, man. On my channel, Leaf 4788, it's gonna be episode number 97 of Nets Visual. Episode number 97 of me calling some of the most weak ass basketball in the past 2 years. Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna be doing that, man. Cam Thomas will be ready for that Tangerines game on the 21st on TNT. So he will be ready for the Tangerines. And that's one of the wins that I'm looking for. So I don't want y'all to be upset about tomorrow night because I want us to win because of the Lakers. And I want us to be upset about the Tangerines because we always want to win against them no matter if we tank it or not. So.
All right. Last one. Pass or fail. Halfway mark of this season. I'll go around. I'll start pass or fail. The Bridges trade. How does that look so far? Just don't give it a grade. Just good or bad. Pass or fail. I'm going to say it's a pass. Dylan.
I'm saying it's good. I don't see the Knicks being good in 3 years.
John.
Yeah, right now it's looking pretty good for us. I'll give it a pass. I think the Knicks with the Towns hand situation, that could get dicey. Coach, we'll call him Sergeant Military Thibs, playing these guys 40-plus minutes a night, the fact they're leaving those missing, that will hit you hard once you get to those playoffs. And the Bucks, man, Giannis can only hold you together for so long. So I feel great about our picks, especially when those Knicks picks get later on in the year. So I feel like this deal has worked out for us, and it's going to help us when we eventually get that star.
And Leaf?
It's a big pass because it's the Tangerines. It's the Knicks. They've been failing this city for many, many years, and they're going to continue to fail this city because they're the Knicks. That's what they do. You know, they get you hyped up. It's like a choke slam, bro. They go all the way up just to come back down and look stupid because they're the Knicks. That's why.
Appreciate it, y'all. We'll be back. So we play tomorrow, right? There's no games tomorrow.
Yeah, we play tomorrow. We got the Los Angeles free throw shooters. We are in LA playing the Los Angeles free throw
late night games are killing me.
Oh yeah, Big Brother Doe's gonna be back tomorrow. Can't wait to see him.
Yeah.
I was about to put out an announcement, but we're probably gonna do a live tomorrow night for the game. So John, if you're free and want to hop on, feel free. Leaf, I know you're doing your thing, so if you're gonna be on after, feel free to jump in. But
of course,
we'll probably start around 9:45.
It's gonna definitely be a party. Hopefully we don't get our ass beat by like 60 again, but everybody's most likely gonna play. So I actually want that win. Listen, I understand how y'all feel about this tank, but I want 2 more wins against the Lakers and the Knicks.
Why the Lakers? Wait, Leaf. Lakers. I could care less about the Lakers, man. The Knicks won, okay. I want Thomas to shine because that's on TNT. Listen, that's a big game for Thomas to show
the Lakers for me is personal. It's extremely personal. They don't have really nothing to do with DFS. Even though I heard what he said and I'm kind of ignored it. I'm like, whatever.
Who cares what DFS says? He's a word down version of PJ Tucker. Who cares what he says?
I got around. I get what Leaf's saying because that's how I feel about the Cowboys. I just hate the Cowboys. So it's like,
yeah,
I get what Leaf's saying. It's
exactly like the Cowboys.
I'll see you guys later.
All right, Dylan.
All right, later.